I'll call this meeting to order, the regularly scheduled meeting of the Transportation and Public Works Committee. I'm the committee's chair, Councilmember Reich. I'm joined by committee members, Councilmember Yang, Councilmember Glidden, Councilmember Palmisano, Councilmember Gordon, and I believe Councilmember Bender is here as well. So we are a full complement of the committee and can conduct its business. We have 14 items today, including some public hearings. I will go through the consent items, and any member can pull them if they wish for further consideration and conversation. Starting with item number 4. Item 4 is the 54th Street West Street Reconstruction Project, and that's approving the layout of that project and authorizing negotiation with the private property owners to acquire easements and additional right-of-way if necessary. Item 5 is the RFP for leakage assessment program, authorizing issuance of a request for proposal for qualified consultants to conduct surveys for that project. This will be referred to Ways and Means Committee. Item 6 is the granulated activated carbon filter project, authorizing amendment to the contract with the U of M Board of Regents to extend the contract end date from December 31st, 2014 to October 31st, 2015 with no change in the total contract amount for that project, and that will be referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Item 7 is the 6th Street parking restrictions, approving resolution ordering installation of parking restrictions on the north side of that street between Park Avenue and 11th Avenue South to meet state aid rules. Number 8 is easement agreement with the Minnesota Sports Facility Authority, and that's authorizing necessary documents with that authority to execute 3 permanent and 1 temporary easement to implement bicycle trail along the south side of the county property located at 5030 Chicago Avenue South. Item 9 is authorizing execution of the necessary documents with Hennepin County to execute an easement to construct a bicycle trail along the south side of the county property at that location. Item 10 is setting a public hearing for February 17, 2015 to consider the sale of public land to the Minnesota Sports Facility Authority. And those items all relate to each other. Item 11 is the 26th Avenue North Street Reconstruction Renovation Project. Approve the layout of that project between Theodore Worth and the Mississippi River. Authorize negotiation of the public property owners and the Park and Recreation Board and the Public School District to acquire permanent easements for sidewalk purposes, and negotiation with property owners to acquire easements for the same reason. Item 12 is approving the resolution designating the location of improvements for that project at 2nd Street North, 21st, 30th, and 33rd Avenue North, 42nd Avenue South, Bloomington Avenue South, and Minnesota 62 Frontage Road Street resurfacing. And also received the cost estimate for that project, which is $1,661,692, and directing the city engineer to prepare proposed special assessments against the benefited properties, and setting that public hearing for March 3rd, 2015. Item 13 is approve a resolution designating the location and improvements to propose for that project, and receive the cost as of $1,214,761. Direct the city engineer to prepare the special assessments against those properties and set that public hearing for March 3rd, 2015. And the final item is accepting low bid of Concrete Idea Incorporated for an estimated annual expenditure of $3 million to complete construction sidewalk, curb and gutter, alley, and drive approaches for the 2015 Public Works Paving Division. That item will be referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Does any committee member wish to move an item? Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to make a comment with regards to item number 11, which is the 26th Avenue North Street Reconstruction Renovation Project. And today's item is project layout approval. And I just wanted to say a few things about this. I think first and foremost, most of the residents that live near 26th Avenue North, I think most people would just say, we can't wait for this thing to happen and can't wait for it to get done. When I came in office just last year, I was one of the people that was just complaining loudly about the condition of the roadway on 26th Avenue North. I mean, it's pretty horrendous. And, most of us would just love to see something nicer, clearer, just at a minimum. But more than anything, though, I mean, this project that we're about to embark upon makes a lot of sense. I wanted to give a special shout out to all these different people and groups, specifically the neighborhood groups of Jordan, Hawthorne, and Muller Hay. Jordan and Hawthorne actually went through a visioning session or visioning processes several years ago to create a 26th Avenue North that would be very user-friendly, but also just very good for the neighborhoods. And, you know, I would say, you know, sometimes things don't happen perfectly, and, you know, it took the city longer to, you know, get to the process of having a project layout. And, you know, I know that the good folks at URS, John Morris and Greg Brown worked really hard to try to incorporate the visions from Jordan and Hawthorne from several years ago into this project. I mean, I don't think everything was put in there, but, you know, I think there was a good compromise. And, you know, our folks at Public Works, specifically Jeff Hanlon, worked really hard to do the community engagement, but also just to, you know, put all the parties together and try to figure out a way to find good compromise. And so, you know, with the help and the advocacy of a lot of different neighbors up on the north side, but, you know, I mean, specifically folks like Minnesota or Minneapolis Bicycle Coalition and the North Minneapolis Bicycle Advocacy Council, they pushed, we pushed, and at the end, I think we have a pretty good product that, you know, most folks would be very happy about. And I will jokingly say that, you know, when their assessments come, I mean, that might be a different story, but at this point, I mean, I'm very happy about the product. And, you know, certainly it was a product of compromise, but, you know, we're at a point where I think most folks who live up there would just be happy with a paved road that is better than the conditions the road is at this point. And so I wanted to thank all the parties involved for helping us to get to this point. And, you know, I'm excited to support this project. I just can't wait for it to get done. I know it's a 2-year project, and I wish it was done just yesterday. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Any other item some wish to discuss? All right, with that, I will move all items as stated and noting the comments of the council member on the project in his ward. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Dissenting nay. Those items move forward to full council. We can now go into the public hearing portion of our agenda. Item number 1 will be the public hearing regarding 24th Street East and Snelling Avenue Street reconstruction projects.
Mr. Chair, Bob Carlson from Transportation Planning and Engineering will make a brief presentation on this project.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Reich and committee members. As well, I'm Bob Carlson with TP&E, and before us today is the proposed paving of 24th and Snelling Avenue project. And that is 24th from Minnehaha westerly to the dead end just west of Snelling, and Snelling Avenue from 24th northerly, approximately 500 feet. And that portion of Snelling then would tie into the part of 22nd Street that was paved a couple years ago. The project is a joint project with CPED, in that CPED has applied for and the city has accepted a $1.1 million LCDA grant from the Metropolitan Council. Part of that grant application basically stated that the city would implement a stormwater best management practice, or sometimes referred to as a stormwater BMP. In this particular case, we will be having an inlet that would go into a pocket underneath the boulevard sidewalk, which would be basically crushed rock, and the water then would go into the voids of the crushed rock, and then hopefully, not hopefully, but will infiltrate into the sand. This area is pretty sandy in there. So that's part of, well, that's the BMP part. If for some reason we have a deluge and the water comes down in very heavy, it overloads the BMP, we still have the standard storm sewer process to cover that. So in other words, the BMP is a supplement, not an alternate for the stormwater facility, an extra, if you will. The paving project itself is basically a standard paving project. for reconstruction, which is basically from one sidewalk on one side of the street to the other side. We take out everything between the sod, the concrete curb and gutter, and the street surface, and we put that back in. Typically, however, we don't remove a bunch of trees. In this particular project, there are some trees that are in distress, some trees that are elm or ash trees, and then there are other trees that we'll need to remove for the BMP process, stormwater BMP. We have been working with the park board, and we will then be reinstalling trees as part of this project. The project originally had the thoughts of putting in street lighting, and as part of the street lighting policy, it basically says that if this project is not a designated pedestrian way, that there will be street lighting unless 51% of the people petition out. In this particular project, 60% of the people have requested petition out, therefore the street lighting was proposed to be deleted, and that will be part of our recommendation for this project. The schedule is to have the project bid out and have a contractor build it this year and get it complete. There is an assessment using the standard uniform assessment rates. Which council has passed. For the non-residential, it's $2.46 per square foot, and for residential, it's 82 cents per square foot, using the influence areas as with typical projects. The assessments would be collected over a 20-year period, except those that are $150 or less, which they would be collected in the first year of the assessment in 2016. There would be interest that would be charged if it's collected over time, and council will set that assessment rate. Also, the property owners have the opportunity to pay it all off if they'd like at once or any time during the assessment process. And there is the deferment process for hardship if need be, and that is typical with projects within the city office, or I should say of paving projects. The last thing I'd like to bring up and have a few moments is the abandonment of areaways. Now, just to remind people, an areaway is part of a building basement that extends out into the public sidewalk or underneath the public sidewalk. Sometimes the current property owner doesn't realize that they have an areaway. Sometimes they do. Sometimes the areaway is not in conflict with the project. At this point in time, we don't believe that there's an areaway in conflict with the 24th and Snelling project. However, if there is, with having the public hearing process, it complies with the process of how to abandon the areaway for a project for public good. With that, I'll open up for questions to the committee.
Are there any questions per the presentation? Seeing none. Oh, Councilmember Yang? Oh, no, no problem. Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. And this is the public hearing for 24th Street East, Snelling Avenue Street Reconstruction Project, as described by the staff report. We do have people who have signed in. You can sign in with the clerk or outside. I will go in order as I see them. So Alex Scott, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Alex Scott. I'm with A-Craft Windows at 2223 Snelling Avenue. I guess I'm here to voice my opinion that I think this project should be put off, as the north end of our block on Snelling is slated for development in 2016. And I just see this as, we're going to lay down a nice new street, and all the heavy equipment is going to tear it up in the process. It's the same thing with 22nd, which was already done, I think, 2 years ago. That's new, and the equipment's going to be coming in on that end as well. So this would be a nice staging area. The street is terrible as it is, and it has been we've been there for, 13 years. And why not use that in its existing state for the equipment? And this would be put off. And this is for us, for our business, it's a $75,000 assessment. And so I see that as, we should have some say in that. It's a lot of money for the street, and to see the things get torn up and, they're going to have to go back and dig holes in the new tar and all the stuff that they already put down when they do the development down the street. So I see it as a poor use of money at the time. Eventually, yeah, we obviously will need streets, but why not wait until the end of the block is done? And that's my comment.
Thank you, and we will take all the comments, and then staff will kind of aggregate them into a master response at the end. So we'll address that after we hear other testimony.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving along, we have Susan Weinstein. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Weinstein, and I own Coastal Seafoods, and I've been on the corner of 2330 Minnehaha for the last 31 years. And I'm scheduled to be assessed somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000 in assessments, and I agree with Alex that if the redevelopment's going to be done down the block, why not wait until that's done and then do it? Because there is going to be all the heavy equipment coming through and everything. So it just seems the street needs to be done, but it just seems more prudent to wait until all the redevelopment is done to do it. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Moving down the list, we have Michael Hendrickson. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, council people, thank you. My neighbors. So I'm on the corner of 24th and Snelling, right in the middle of this whole project. And I don't think I can say anything that's much different than what they're saying, but I would like to just kind of investigate the process that's been going through to make this happen. We had a meeting with Bob Carlson and a couple other of the city people last week, was it? Yeah. They spelled everything out, sort of like the letter that we received, and it's understandable. I think that there's no doubt that our street is in very bad condition. And it has been for quite a long while. It's one of those streets that's had the bubblegum patches on them for years. We've had some recent development, 2 buildings across the street from our businesses that increased that degradation. There's no doubt about it. You look at that street and it's kind of like a rodeo going down that thing. I can see why we want to repair it. We also have seen lots of plans from Seward Redevelop, which I'm sure you guys are aware of, where there's a lot of plans going on for that neighborhood. The object of, I think our thing here is, why throw good money after bad? I think that there's an order of things. You don't move into a brand new house, redo all the floors, and then paint the ceiling. You go in first and you take care of the things in kind of an order where you don't have to redo. And I think that there are engineers who would probably say it's different, but I think that going in there, redoing all that stuff, and then continuing to develop is going to take money that's very valuable to us. For me, I think it's a $35,000 or $8,000 assessment. I'm a sole proprietor. I'm the only guy who occupies my building. It's a lot of money to me. I know it's a lot of money to these folks for their assessments. I'd like to see it spent well. I know that part of the motivation is that the Met Council has thrown in this 1.4 that's going to help lower my cost to do this. I appreciate that. And I understand that there's a sunset on that money. I don't think that should be the motivation for spending my money right now. I think that spending my money right now, just because we have more money coming from the Met Council, again, it's good money after bad. I don't think it's a proper order of things. I think it's just the order. I don't think anybody here says that street doesn't need to be redone. And new trees and gutters and sidewalks, you walk down that sidewalk, there's all sorts of paint lines on there where they came through and said there's, this much difference between sidewalk panels and these are going to have to be redone. We understand all that. Let it be done when it's time to be done. That would be my comment. Don't let this 1.4 from the Met Council be the thing that does it. They're not going to burn that money. They're going to take it back. They're going to apply it to something else, maybe something that's more appropriate for the timing. Anything else I had in here? Oh, yeah, there's one other thing. It was an interesting little statistic too. I was part of the petition for the lighting, which was kind of in the same thing. We were part of that 60% who turned it down. I would put to you that 60%, a majority of the people who are involved in this project from, having it happen in front of us are the same people who would oppose what's happening right now. So if we're just talking majority rules, we're in. But I think logic rules too. I think logic is the thing that goes here, the order of things. Why spend the money now? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I don't have anyone on the list. Does anyone else wish to speak to this project? Does anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask staff to address the issue of project staging. I think implied in that is, do we tee things up by policy or procedure to tee it up with proposed development plans? And then if there were a development activity that damaged the street, who would be liable?
Chairman Wright, committee members, that is correct. Our partner in CPED has told me that there is an application in from Seward Redesign to do another development along Snelling Avenue that would take place after this project, or during the time that this project was, I beg your pardon, it would be in 2016 or later. So if this project was done in 2015 and we got it completed, they would be putting a hole into the street to tie in for new sewer and water services. Then again, the question comes into play that is one additional property. There are other properties that are proposed to be developed. When that takes place, I don't know of when it might take place. So we could have development taking over 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years. And the question then comes into play, when do we wait till everything's totally done and try to keep the street maintained? Or do we go in at some point in time and say, well, we'll live with the holes that they have to put in? We would then have the curb and gutter set in place so that when they set these new buildings in on their property, they would know where to set the building floors so that they would drain into the street. Yes, they could do it with the proposed design as well, so that's not a real critical item. But the question comes into play is that we have at our disposal a $1.1 million grant from Met Council. We could turn it down, and yes, CPED could apply. Again, there is no guarantee that we would get it. Met Council would use this money elsewhere within the Metro Council area. Whether it would be in Minneapolis or not, I don't know. The question then comes into play is if we don't get it, then the city would be needing to put in this replace the 1.1 grant money with net debt bonds. So we're at this point, we all agree that the street needs work. It's just a question of timing as to when we think we should move forward. The grant has come in at this point in time. We think, as in Public Works and with our partners in CPED, think that now would be the time to move ahead. Yes, there would be a few holes in it at some point in time if and when development takes place. And we anticipate at least one more in 2016.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Gordon.
My question had to do with requesting an extension, or how clear is it that the grant would be taken back, or is there any room? I know in the past we've had discussions with the county, and sometimes there's some room where they say we'll hold the money for a year. Have we asked about that, and is it clear that we lose it?
Chairman Reich and Councilmember Gordon, the original sunset date, from my understanding, was December 31st, 2014, and we have asked for an extension for 1 year to 2015. Whether or not we could get beyond that, I'm not sure. That would be a question that I would need to ask our CPED partners. But from what I've understood is that it's not unusual for the Met Council once they've been shown that progress is being made on the project, to extend it 1 year, but I'm not aware that they've done it for more than 1 year.
And then I had one follow-up question, if I could. I know that sometimes these development projects don't stay on schedule. I know that Seward Redesign has been developing these 3 phases of this project for a number of years. Is it clear that they're actually going to break ground and do construction on the next final phase in 2016? Or is that just their hope?
Chairman Reich, Councilmember Gordon, why we had a bit of a delay on this was going through the stormwater BMP process. And that has been set up. We have actually had that stormwater BMP being reviewed by the Mississippi watershed people. And we anticipate that they will approve that and that we will have a viable stormwater BMP project. And that once that's with that, we've got what we need to comply with the LCDA grant. And so we anticipate to get this thing bid out yet this year and constructed this year, if we get the approval to go ahead.
Theoretically, we could approve it, and then the time, I've seen this in the past anyway, we'll approve projects, they'll move forward, but the timeline still adjusts. So we could still refine the timeline and have more discussions about it, even if we went ahead with approval.
Correct.
And I guess my question, though, and maybe it's something I can talk to somebody from CPED about, I don't think I see anybody here, is how likely is it that the redesign project, the phase 3 of that Seward Commons project will actually get built on time? Because you raised an interesting point, and I know the other projects were delayed longer than they had anticipated, I think, and it happened. So I would hate to see us say we're going to wait and we're going to give them another year, and then these folks had to live another 5 or 6 years with this deteriorating road and sidewalks that weren't functioning well. So if you don't, and I bet you don't know the likelihood that they'll actually construct the 3rd phase, so that's something I can take up with CPED staff later. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Bender, followed by Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know how long we want to talk about this particular development, but don't LCDA grants have to be tied to a development proposal? Like a building development proposal? And is the Seward project the development project that this is tied to?
It was associated with the Seward redesign development project in the area, which there's 2 projects that have been completed, and there is still that one other that's being proposed to be completed that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Heidi?
And Mr. Chair, I would just like to offer that Public Works would be happy to follow up with CPED and get a few more details about the likelihood of being able to get an extension, some of the more details on the likelihood of the developments occurring. And we could summarize that in an email and provide it to you before the committee of the whole.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Councilmember Yang?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a technical question for the first part of my comments. You know, when I look at the cost estimate for the project, it's $1.5 million, give or take a few dollars. And then when you look at the LCDA grant funds and the special assessments, you know, when you add those 2 up, I mean, it's $140,000 more than the cost estimate. I just want to know why that is.
How the sources and uses line up in terms of the overall budget and estimated cost of the project?
If we go out for bids, we certainly would get a much better handle on this. And I will say this is that it's very close, but we also have, but not received, we've got a request in to the Mississippi watershed for an additional funding for the BMPs. And until that gets approved, I can't say that we've got it to move ahead, but at the time that we would open the bids and bring it back in front of this committee, we would know whether or not we have that additional fund or not. So yes, at the moment it's close, and you know, I'm not sure how hungry the contractors might be for this project. And it may be a lot less, it may be right on, it might be a little more. Until we get the bids going, I can't tell you, but we do have, we have high hopes, and we think that we're going to get an additional funding source from the Mississippi watershed for this project.
Okay, and the second question is, assuming that the CDA grant funds are not a part of this project, does that mean that the assessments for all the owners along, that area, just increase, maybe almost double, if not triple?
No, Chairman Reich, Councilmember Yang, by using the standard city uniform assessment rate that's set by council every year, it would only change in the future by whatever that rate would be. Then the difference, the city as a whole, through net debt bond process, would pick up that project cost.
All right, well, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just say, it's a pretty great opportunity to have the ability to have the grant pay for about 2/3 of the capital cost of this project. So I think it's really exciting that we were able to bring this forward in partnership with CPED because they are very competitive. And again, it's not because they have to be tied to a specific development project. Sometimes I think the timing is a little bit tricky to work out. So it's great to see that that happened in this case. So thanks for the great work of partnering with CPED on that and getting these resources for the city.
Do I hear that as a motion to approve?
I will move to approve.
Okay, and then we will note, as by way of discussion, there will be some follow-up with the CPED department, though it does sound from the testimony of the project manager that there's been considerable amount of coordination to date, but we will look a little deeper in that, and we appreciate that extra information. You can just send it to all committee members. And then in kind of by way of comment, the uniform assessment rate, it's the uniformity that makes it work. And so that's one of the reasons why we set it, and we don't deviate once it's been set for the year. So with that, we have a motion for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in approval say aye. 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 Dissenting nay. That moves forward, and there will be further investigation on the matter. That public hearing is closed. We will now move to the second public hearing, and that is Minnehaha Avenue Street Reconstruction Project. Assistant Director Hamilton.
Mr. Chair, Chris Engelman, our project engineer, will make the presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Chris Engelman. I'm a project engineer with the City of Minneapolis Public Works Department. The item before us today is the project approval and assessment public hearing for Minnehaha Avenue CASA 48 reconstruction project. The areaway abandonment public hearing. And the project itself, the proposed project, is a reconstruction of the county state aid highway CASA 48. The county is the lead agency on the project and in coordinating with the city of Minneapolis on the project. The proposed project consists of reconstructing Minnehaha Avenue from Lake Street to 46th Street East and approximately 450 feet of 46th Street East at the intersection with Minnehaha Avenue. The project will include full removal of the existing road, replacement of the paving, base, curb, gutter, signage, striping, storm drains, drives. There is a street lighting project that's going to be as part of this project. Sidewalks and boulevards will be replaced, repaired when impacted by the project, and new urban trees when they're impacted by the project. The project is scheduled for 2015 and 2016 reconstruction. The project cost estimate is, at the time when I wrote the letter, of $14.4 million. The project assessments was levied in accordance with our uniform assessment rates to properties benefiting the project. We used $2.46 for non-residential and 82 cents for residential properties. They would be levied for payment beginning in 2017. That is due to the construction being done in 2015 and 2016. We don't anticipate full substantial complete until the end of 2016. Information has been provided to property owners regarding this. We've had a number of meetings prior to the assessment process. We had one meeting last week regarding the assessment process. And we will continue to meet with the community and engage them as the construction project goes forward and work with them regarding their construction concerns and hopefully keep it a free-flowing, vibrant area during construction and even more so afterwards. We also had areaway abandonments notices go out. At this time, the notices went out. We did not have any identified conflicting areaways with the project, but any areaways that we are not aware of or we find that are different than our records, then we would move forward and work with the property owner to address the conflict or have the areaway itself abandoned. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions per the presentation? Councilmember Gordon.
I just had a question about a copy of a letter that we got here from Matthew Charles Spooner.
Yes, sir.
And I'm hoping that you've already had the opportunity to talk to him. I know that he's a senior citizen. I think I've met him and he lives in the neighborhood. But if not, hopefully he raises some specific questions and wants some more information. And have you had a chance to talk to him yet?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Gordon, I have spoke with him. He was able to catch me this morning, and we did go through those questions, and I believe I answered them to his satisfaction, but we'll connect with him if he does have further questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that you took the extra time.
Any further questions or comments per the presentation? Thank you. Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. And this is the public hearing regarding the Minnehaha Avenue Street Reconstruction Project. I will go in order of those who signed in with the clerk, starting with Luke Durheim. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Luke Durham, and I'm with 3675 Minneapolis Avenue South. We are concerned about hardships facing our business during the construction process due to the fact that most of our customers come in right off of Minnehaha and will be closed for about a 6-month duration. So we're just very concerned about that this time.
Thank you. And then as the last hearing, we'll take all the comments and then staff will answer them in aggregate. Following the order, we have Lowell Zitloff. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Lowell. Okay, moving along the list, we have Jonas Sostrom. I might not have pronounced that correctly, but you can, for the record, correctly pronounce it and state your address as well.
My name is Jonas Sjostrom. Thank you so much. I guess I just have a quick comment and a question, a technical question. My comment is, as a homeowner, 3244, I appreciate any improvement that can happen on Minnehaha, and I think this is fair. My question, living in an old home and in an old neighborhood, there are a lot of homes in this area. My home was built in 1904. I've done a lot of remodeling on my property. Just recently, I put in a new sewage system at the tune of $14,000. There is also lead pipe, supply pipes that are going into each of these properties along Minnehaha. My concern is that when this is all improved and done, these are all going to have to be torn up again. I would love to see maybe a proposal to have a contractor or the same contractor, I really don't know how it works technically, have a proposal for the homeowners that live in old homes, have the sewage and the supply lines also replaced that are lead. So I guess that's my question, if that has been considered. Thank you.
Thank you, and staff will address that. Have no one on the list. Did anyone additional sign up? Does anyone wish to speak in the public hearing? Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask staff to come and address the two questions that were raised. One about the impacts of business access, which is a significant one. I just went through a long MnDOT rail bridge project on the main street in my ward, and those considerations are significant. And then the other one is regarding coordination with pipes for sewer and water intake.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'll address the first question regarding access during construction. The county is currently bidding out the project. They have not brought a contractor on board yet. They're ramping this up. As they bring this forward and bring the construction team together, they'll be engaging the public and talking about access a variety of different traffic control plans and discussing that with the community as far as what the staging will be once the contractor is on board. They'll be able to more fully define that. But the goal of the project, for the project, during the project, and the city of Minneapolis, is to maintain access during the construction for businesses and property owners and homes so that they can still live their lives on a daily basis. There may be some impacts, but we're going to want to try to minimize those impacts and work with the property owners and the contractor and the construction management team to address those concerns earlier rather than later. So that's part of the meeting process that we'll be having out there, and direct connections with the different the management team as well as the property owners and the users of the area. The second question regarding private connections to the sanitary main and to the water main, there are a number of places where we are highly encouraging property owners to evaluate if they want to do that as part of the construction. It is a private connection. So we are not providing that as a direct service as part of the construction. They are free to connect with the contractor once they get on, it's been identified. My understanding is that the neighborhood groups and sewer redesign, I believe, is actually trying to connect with property owners to give them information and try to help that and to facilitate that process as well. So I might, a good opportunity is to get the names of your individuals, and then I'll try to get you to the right people with that process as well. And that's been the goal of the reconstruction team, the Hennepin County, City of Minneapolis, and the neighborhood groups, so that reconstruction in an emergency action further down the line does not occur.
Well, then I would fully encourage the subsequent meetings where you engage the stakeholders, both businesses and residential, that do participate in those, so they can very much design the mitigation package, if you will, in terms of signage and staging and timing, once the staff gets a better idea of what the needs are from a business access standpoint. And then it seems like the coordination component with private residential in terms of their sewer hookup, there's actually a middle party that's helping, a sewer redesign in the neighborhood association. So definitely take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gordon.
Sorry, that was old.
No, carryover. Okay. Thank you very much. Any further conversation per the hearing? I will move the item forward, noting that the activities will take place with the stakeholders as discussed. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Dissenting nay. That item carries. And we will now move to the third public hearing of the day and final one, and that is the Nawada, I don't know if I even pronounced that correctly, Boulevard and Minnehaha Avenue Street Reconstruction Project.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Chris Engelman is also the project engineer for this project, so we'll make a presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Chris Engelman with the City of Minneapolis Public Works Department. I'm the project engineer for the Nawadaha Boulevard and Minnehaha Avenue reconstruction. This is going to be very similar to the presentation I just gave. This project is undergoing the same public hearing process for the project as well as the areaways public hearing. This project is adjacent to, and we're tying it in with the county's CASAF 48 project. It's kind of a conglomerate effort on this work, but the work is just south of the CASAF 48 project limits on Minnehaha, just south of 46th Street East to the intersection of Nawadaha Boulevard, and includes full reconstruction of the Nawadaha Boulevard from Minnehaha to approximately 250 feet west of Minnehaha Avenue. This includes at minimum the full removal of the existing street surface, subgrade correction, aggregate base, paving, curb and gutter, signage, and drive approaches, and pedestrian curb ramps. Street lighting along the Minnehaha Avenue is also proposed for this project as part of the project, and it is proposed for construction in 2015. It'll be in the first construction phases of the year of 2015. balancing with the CASA 48 construction as well. It's planned to be completed in 2015 with an estimated cost of $2 million. The proposed assessments are based on the applying the 2015 uniform assessment rates and the land area benefited parcels, with the non-residential unit rate of $2.46 per square foot and the residential unit rate of 82 cents per square foot. This would be levied in 2017 real estate tax statements. The 2017 is trying to correlate with the CASA 48 levy process as well, so that's why it is a little bit longer than the typical at substantial completion. But the intent is to have the county's contractor do the work for this project as well as their project, and we don't anticipate final closeout until the end of 2016. We also don't anticipate any conflicting areaways with the project, but we are, in case there are any unanticipated areaways that are unknown areaways or areaways that are differing from our records, we will go through this process to be able to have a process for us to coordinate and work with the property owners should they become apparent. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions per the presentation by staff? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. And we do have someone signed in. And Jerry Cormick, thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Jerry Cormick. I own the property at 4010 Nawadaha Boulevard, which is a Bridgman's restaurant. I received this letter on Saturday, so it kind of took me by surprise, even though it's dated December 18th. And it is telling me that I have an assessment of $22,693. I believe that something is wrong with this because the property that is abutted to mine was redone when they redid Hiawatha Avenue in the tunnel area, and there's nothing wrong with that area. I think they might have made a mismeasurement, or the parcel has been pieced off a little bit, and they might have the wrong property owner that should be paying this amount of money. And I wanted to know who I should go to, and I think I just found out.
Yes, very, very good.
He takes care of the assessments also?
He knows who does.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes. We have no one else signed up. Does anyone wish to speak to this project? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Linda Dema. I'm the CFO of Volkers Incorporated, and we own properties that are on Snelling, and then we own 2 vacant lots on Minnehaha, 3050 Minnehaha and 3100 Minnehaha. They're both vacant lots, and there's no curbs or gutters along Minnehaha now, and so there's some driveway area that used to, it's not paved now as a driveway, but I'm just wondering if it's city property or if it's our property, or when you put curbs and gutters there, how does that work? That's my question.
Oh, very good. Anyone else wish to speak during the public hearing? Anyone else wish to speak? See none, I will close the public hearing and ask staff to address the 2 issues raised. I think one will be a clarification you'll probably do offline. And then there's this issue that was raised about the curb and gutter.
Mr. Chair, I believe I'm missing some of the details as to the property there, so I probably want to take a look at the offline as well. But in general, as part of the project, curb and gutters are constructed along the full length of their driveways into the properties are determined and placed as well, with some limitations by our zoning, but that they are constructed as well as part of the project. And then I will connect with both the individuals and try to address their questions more directly offline, if that's amenable.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Any further comments, questions? See none, I will move the item as described in the report. Any further discussion? See none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. And I would like to thank everyone who are coming down for your comments, and do engage staff, and I appreciate the extra staff time to engage the stakeholders. With that, I believe we have exhausted everything on our agenda, and we're thereby adjourned. Thank you.